So it's important to note here too, again, that the moon spends roughly 2.5 days in each sign. It takes 28 days to go through, to circumnavigate the zodiac, and it's feminine energy, and it rules Cancer and the fourth house. And we'll talk about houses at a later time. We'll get into houses because there's a lot to the astrology stuff. So we're going to unpack that a little bit at a time together. So that's what you need to know about the moon. And now we're going to unpack the aspects of the moon in our astrology chart. I'm going to go through each one. We've all heard about being wary on a full moon or knowing that full moons bring out the crazy. My mother, who has worked in the hospital industry for many years and has worked some third shifts as well, always tells me these stories about the strangest occurrences happening, the most crazy kind of accidents and weird things. And the nurses and the doctors, they all joke amongst themselves, it's a full moon. That is not a cliche. This is really happening, guys. So as we just spoke about, there's much more to it than that. There's the softer side. There's that nurturing side as well. So a few weeks ago, we did talk about that rising sign, as well as your sun sign, which is a sign that I said most of you guys would be familiar with. We all know, like, what's your sign? Well, the moon is about, again, how we're feeling. And it is the final part and the most important part, in my opinion, because without a soul, what are we? It's the most important part of that triad, and it really helps you to understand yourself. It has a great spell-like influence over us. And the following is an excerpt from the book, The Necklace of Goddess Athena by Esofrini Muscadai. And I think that it perfectly captures the moon's essence. There are nights, for instance, especially in August, where the view of the full moon from the top of the Acropolis Hill or from a high terrace could steal your breath away. The moon would slide over the clouds like a seducing princess dressed in her finest silvery silk, and the sky would be full of stars that trembled feebly like servants that bowed to her. During those nights under the light of the August full moon, the city of Athens would become an enchanted kingdom that slept lazily under the sweet light of its ethereal mistress. I think that perfectly captures what's happening when we're dealing with the moon. And now, let's talk about how the moon affects you individually. And at the end of this, I'm going to tell you again how you can find your natal birth chart, which is really important to understand where your moon placement is. I'll tell you now and I'll tell you again. You can go to cafeastrology.com, all connected one word there, cafeastrology.com, and search natal birth chart. You can even put into your Google search bar Cafe Astrology Birth Chart, and it will pop up even faster so you don't have to navigate the site. And then you just need to know the month and the time and the day that you were born and your name and the original county. And those things you can find on your birth certificate. You can just put those in and it will generate a full report to you with really wonderful in-depth definitions of where your sun, moon, and many other planets, which we will be talking about all of this over the course of our time together, but it will really give you an idea. The three that I really recommend you getting in touch with is the sun, the rising sign, which we spoke about, and now the moon. And it's very easy to find. You'll see a chart and it will say it on the side. So we'll get to that again in a minute. But first, let's get into Aries. And that's interesting I say but first, because Aries is the baby of the zodiac. Now, and that doesn't mean that they're babies, but what it means is every zodiac sign has an association with it, whether it's an animal, whether it's for Virgo, the virgin, Leo, the lion. They're also rams. Aries are also rams. So there's an animal sign, but there's an idea of who they are. For Taurus, the ideology for Taurus is I have. They're very identified with their possessions, and things they have make them feel safe and secure. So for Aries, they're the baby. That means they're first. And that's how it's been arranged in our Western astrology. If you have a natal moon in Aries, which is what it will be called, your natal moon, when you're looking on that birth chart, you have a tendency to react impulsively. You use your instincts in situations. I know someone, a friend of mine, who is a businesswoman, who is an Aries and has a moon in this placement. She's a fantastic businesswoman, but she is moving by sounds that are happening under the earth. She's not paying attention to what you're saying. She's listening to what you're emitting. Very fascinating. I also believe that Steve Jobs had some Aries planetary movement, and that's how come he was bold and he was a pioneer, because he didn't ask questions. He didn't seek approval. What he did was he reacted to the market. He reacted and he got things going that other people told him were impossible. So this is the benefit of having that Aries in your moon. You have a short fuse sometimes, guys. So this is something to know, and you can blow your top at a moment's notice. But you're not one to hold a grudge. And that's the thing that's really important. You won't hold a grudge because you guys move on very quickly. I want you to think again about a baby. How quick is a baby's attention span? How short is their attention span? How much can they really pay attention? And it's because they're creating at all times. Everything is a new discovery for them. And that's how it is for the person with the Aries moon. Now, unless they have a lot of Scorpio or a prominent Pluto in their chart, they will release things very quickly, or a tendency to hold on to things a little longer. You usually just let things go, and you don't take them to heart, and you move on quickly because you're always looking for the next thing. They're always ready for the next deal. And again, think of Steve Jobs here. They crave action. They have to have something to do all the time, or they get anxious and they get irritable. And this placement is highly impatient. So you don't want to have things done now. You want them done yesterday. And that is really true of this Aries placement. You also want them done a week ago. Nothing operates as fast as you'd like it. So learning patience can be beneficial. Though if you have Earth in your chart, and we'll talk about that, you may not be as impatient as some other Aries moon people. And to feel emotionally secure, you need independence. And anyone who tries to smother you is not someone that you'll want to be around. You can be hard to pin down. It's also you need to understand that it could be difficult in relationships, though you may be romantic, because it is really your way or the highway. And the thing is, you're smart. You get things done. You have a right feeling about things, but that romantic side will come in later as you really start to grow into yourself. You need people who are able to not only keep up with you, but actually provide you with some stimulation. And so when you're stressed out, physical action can help you calm yourself. It's very important for people with this aspect in their chart to be moving, to be in the gym, to be part of a hobby or sport, because you're able to release a lot of that energy. Here's the thing. Aries, there's so many layers to this, but Aries is associated with movement and action and fire. It's a fire sign. Okay. So that's something to know. And I believe actually Aries deals with Mars, which is the god of war. They are conjuncted. And that means not just that you want war, but it means you have to have action. You have to have that movement. So it's very important. As simple as going for a walk, guys, can release some of the stress and the energy. Dancing, swimming, anything that keeps you active. So the key for Aries is keep moving, be ahead of the game. They're the one that's going to be through the door first, but they're also going to be the one with a brilliant idea that changes the world. The natal moon in Taurus. Having your moon in Taurus can make you very emotionally stable. You're not one to swing from mood to mood quickly or having any easy routine. It's very easy for you to kind of just be and be still. You tend to believe in the happy medium thing. So you are very opposite of Aries here. Even though your signs are so close together, you do not move quickly like this. In fact, everything for you is very slow, plodding even, and deliberate. The downfall here with the Taurus moon can be the lack of intensity when the moment requires it, especially in situations where you need to react quickly. You try to make situations work for you by squeezing as much time as you can allow yourself and slowly and deliberately go over things. Here is where Taurus gets into trouble sometimes with this aspect, the Taurus moon. these people have a tendency to be late, like chronically late, because they are sure that the world is waiting for them. And that's that Taurus moon energy of like, I've got time, plenty of time. And they come in and people might interpret it as diva behavior, but it's because they've 1000% rationalized it to themselves. I had a former client who used to set alarms all over her house with this aspect. And none of her clocks were correct. And I would go do readings for her. And I'd say, what time is it? And she'd say, oh, well, my phone is 20 minutes fast and my stove is 30 minutes fast and my alarm clock by my bed is an hour fast. And I'm thinking, how do you ever get anywhere? Well, the answer was she didn't. With all of that setting of the clocks and all of that pre-planning to never be late, she somehow managed to always be incredibly late. And this was the placement that was in her chart. They don't take things too lightly or too seriously. Here's the thing for people. If you're interested in somebody that has this placement in their chart, they're very sensual and they love to get you in touch with your senses and stimulating each one to allow yourself to feel most in tune with yourself and the earth, because Taurus is an earth sign. And other Taurus natal moon people that I've worked with have this fantastic taste. Taurus people, period. They really are in touch with their five senses. They love soft, comfortable bedding. They love good food that's rich. That's a little thing to watch out for there. They love comfort because that is what makes them feel secure. They also love acquisition, okay? They really love to have things. That also makes them feel secure. They even like nature. So even if they're not into camping, maybe they're glamping, but the thing about them with nature is they like to have awesome views. So if a Taurus can have a choice between the bottom apartment or condo and the top floor, they're going to go for the top floor. If you've got this position in your chart, because you want to have a view. That's really important to you. And some of the people that have this placement in their chart are environmentalists. And when you don't feel so great, though, Taurus, you may be prone to overindulging your senses. And this is where I was talking about. It usually comes via food and sometimes even sex. If you find yourself swaying one way emotionally, you can get stuck there because you guys don't have that quick bounce back that Aries do. This is something you have to be cautious about if this is your placement, because it means that you can really get stuck there. And here's the thing, guys. I am speaking from experience. My moon is in Taurus. So these things that I'm telling you are hitting me right where I live. I went to culinary school and love food and I can make anything, but that is a place where I can indulge. And that is a place where I can also nourish and nurture other people. And I love beautiful things. And this is all aspected in the Taurus moon, but I can be stuck sometimes. Even doing this and teaching other people, I have to be very cognizant and aware of the energies that are around me because I need to be able to move. Fortunately, I have some other fire and things in my chart that help balance me out, but this is something that is part of my personality. So Taurus moon natives who also suffer from emotional problems or get stuck for much longer periods of time. When you're dealing with this in your chart, breakups take a longer time for you to heal from, where somebody else is like, why are you even still talking about that? You're going over it in your head. And that's that propensity to get stuck, especially if you have other indicators in your chart like Virgo or any water signs. So that's what you need to know if you are a Taurus natal moon. If your natal moon is in Gemini, you have to know this. You're going to want to talk and talk. And then you're going to want to talk some more. And then after that, you're going to want to talk some more. Gemini moons almost need conversation like the rest of us need water, okay? It's so important for them to be verbal. They have to talk. Luckily for you, if you have this placement, you're a pretty good conversationalist. You're engaging, you're thoughtful, you really connect with people and make it feel like you're hearing them. You like to observe people too. So like going to a cafe somewhere, whether it's in the States or in Paris, is so interesting to you because you love to watch. It's like an anthropological study to you. Gemini is a mutable sign, which means that they're easily changed. And they're also indicative of the twins. You've heard that, the duality of the Gemini. And that is a very true thing. You can be easily influenced by what you observe. You need a lot of intellectual stimulation and to be kept busy. Otherwise, you'll get bored